In this video, I'm going to show you how this knife can change your life and be one of the most important things for you for this new year. When I was a kid, I used to always look out the window of the car when my mum was driving me around. And I remember looking at different people and observing people. And I love observing people and going into their life and wondering what they're thinking and wondering how they got into that position. And I remember looking at some people and just thinking, how did they get to that position? Like, they just looked unhappy, unhealthy. They looked like they had no purpose, no meaning in their life. And then I would look at the other spectrum of that and see the successful person. And I'm not talking about money, I'm talking about people who were happy and who were living like with their shoulders up. They were walking, looking like they were walking towards something or towards someone. They just looked like they had a purpose in the world. And I remember wondering, how do you go from this person who's lost, who lacks purpose, lacks meaning, lacks happiness and joy and peace in their life, to the person who has everything that this person doesn't have? And here's what I discovered in the last 5 years, was that every single successful, and remember, we're not just talking about money here, every single successful person was just once as lost as this lost person. And maybe even they were just as lost as you're feeling right now. I guarantee you they were, if not more lost than you're feeling right now. What's interesting about this though is that every successful person can very easily become lost again. I know just in the last couple months there was Liam Payne, one of the singers from One Direction. He jumped off a balcony because he was involved with drugs and he was actually like in a really dark place. But he was this massively, to the outside eye, he was this massively successful person. But it just reinforced again that you have no idea what's going on the inside of people, because that's where the success is. In the last few months there was a famous UFC fighter, Conor McGregor, who was involved with rape allegations. And it just reinforces again that if you're feeling lost, you're just as close to being the successful person as the successful person is as close to being the lost person. That's very hard to say fast, by the way. And obviously we don't want to follow in the footsteps of those successful people who dropped to being lost, right? We want to go from the lost person to the successful person, finding direction, finding purpose, finding this inner wealth that's inside of you. And so the question becomes how? How do you go from being lost to becoming successful? And in the last 5 years of my experience in studying other successful people, this is what they all say. It all comes down to one thing, and it comes back to this knife. It all comes down to decisions. And you might be like, well, what does that have to do with the knife? Well, and why most people's life doesn't change is because there's a difference between making a choice and making a decision. So a choice is when you pick something. So there's a bottle of water and a beer in the fridge. And then you're like, oh, the water is definitely the right one to pick. So I'm going to pick the water. That's the healthy option. And then the next day you choose the beer and you grab the beer out of the fridge. And so that's choosing. So it's just picking one, but you never actually change anything because you're just going back and forth. And that's what a lot of people are doing. They're just going back and forth. And so they really go nowhere. And what a decision does is it goes back to all the way in the start of mankind when Adam made a decision to grab the apple off the tree, and it comes to the present moment where you are deciding what to eat or what to do in your day. Everything comes down to decisions. And this is where the knife comes in. So a decision, to decide, the word decide, the word de means off or from or of, and the word side means to cut. Or actually, I was speaking to my friend the other day, he said it actually, when you search it up, it means to kill. So the word decide means to cut off or kill off or cut off from. So when you make a decision, you are cutting yourself off from all other possibilities. Coming back to the example of the bottle of water in the fridge and the beer, you decide to drink that bottle of water. You decide to get the water. When you decide, that means you've cut off all the other possibilities. So from now on, you just grab the bottle of water. And so firstly, when you start making decisions, let's look at what a decision actually will do for you. And what a decision does is it comes down to the acronym of TNDR, Tinder. So you have to go on Tinder no, I'm just kidding. So the first thing a decision does is it decreases time. It decreases the waiting period. So you can actually cut so much of your time that it takes you to do something just by making a decision. For example, let's go back to the water in the fridge and the alcohol in the fridge. So you see the water and you see the beer and you're like, I don't know. My mum's a Libra, so she does this all the time. She can't make a decision. She's always in the middle, right? And so you see the bottle of water, you see the beer, and you're like, I don't know. I'll just go eat something and I'll think about what decision to make. then you go and then you spend an hour eating something and you're like, yeah, I'll go watch something and then I'll think about it again. Then you come back to the fridge like 1 or 2 hours later and you're like, okay, yeah, I'll grab the water. But what a decision does is you make it right then, right there. You cut off all the other possibilities. Imagine if you had that kind of urgency in your life. Like I always wondered, how do people get there so quick? Like they always tell these stories of, oh yeah, I had no money, I was unhappy, I was this, I was down in the dumps, I was in this hole, and then I just got up here. And then they're talking like they're very happy people. They have a lot of purpose in their life. They're wealthy people from the inside out. And it's like, how did you do it? Well, because they made decisions and urgent decisions. And that's the difference between the successful person and the lost person, is the successful person just makes a decision straight away, right then and there. And guess what? Jim Rohn has this quote that says that you have to make the decision even if it's a wrong decision, because that gives you more chance to make a better decision next time. In the book that I'm writing at the moment, one of my favorite lines of the book is, you think your future is years away when it's actually just a few decisions away. And it speaks to this, right? It's the successful person. They know that this future that they want, this whatever they want, whatever it is, it's just a few decisions away. They just have to make them. I know Alex Hormozi has this quote that your life you want is just on the other side of a few hard conversations. But again, you have to make the decision to have those hard conversations, right? When in the beginning, when I was feeling lost, I had to have these harder conversations with my dad because I felt like he was the one that was stopping me from going to live my life. And so if there's a person or if there's something in your life right now, make the decision to go and have that conversation, or make the decision to go and do it differently. Like, just remember the knife. And so it's a crazy thing, you know, in that time of 1 hour, the successful person could have made 3, 4, 5 decisions, and the lost person hasn't even made the decision yet. And that's just within 1 hour. Imagine in a week, in a month. And you wonder how people turn their lives around so quickly, because they're making decisions. And not just decisions, they're making quick decisions. All right, the second thing that a decision can do for you is narrow your options. If you think about it, if you have 20 things in your day, but maybe 5 of those are actually what matters. Like if you just did those 5, the other 15 could kind of fall away. And so you're trying to figure out, what are these 20 things in my life? And what are the 15 of them that I can make a decision that cuts them out, so that I can get to these 5 things that really matter? That if I do these 5 things really well, then my life is going to improve drastically. The third thing that a decision can do for you is it can direct your actions. So it's not only making the decision in your head, but now when you make the decision, your actual actions start to move with your mind. And I know you've heard a lot about this before, but the mind, body, soul connection. This is how it begins. The mind aligns with the body, and the body aligns with what the soul's doing. And it's all in this one, well, it's maybe not a circle, maybe a triangle because it's 3, but it's all aligned. And you start moving intentionally. I've had those days where I just sit there and I'm just thinking, you know, I'm just kind of tapping my fingers. What can I do? Like I'm bored. And then I start procrastinating, and then I don't get anywhere. And then I just go back into the old same stuff that I've been doing. And it's like, no, when you feel that boredom coming on, boom, make a decision, go out and do something, direct your actions, align your head with your body, and that will all align with the movement of your soul. I know you've probably heard people speak about the soul, and I don't know where you sit with it, but I didn't even know there was a soul until I started writing, until I started creating. There is definitely a soul. And when you start aligning with it, your life will move in ways that you haven't yet imagined. Think about that. Your life will move in ways that you haven't yet imagined. The fourth thing that a decision does is it increases risk. And you're like, what? It increases risk? Oh my God! No, this is a great thing. Because if we go back to the decision and a choice, the choice has no risk involved. You see the bottle of water, you see the beer, or you see the Netflix and the gym, or you see the sleep in and the early morning ocean swim. If you just make choices with these things, remember you're not deciding, right? And so when you make a choice, there's absolutely zero risk, because you're not risking anything. Like risk means to put up something and sacrifice it for something else, right? So what a decision does is it gets you actually taking more risks in your life. And I guarantee you, no matter any successful person, like it could be a sports player, an artist, a movie director, a singer, whatever, they all took risks in their life, like little risks and big risks. But a lot of it comes down to just the day-to-day decisions that you make. And so remember, a little risk is better than no risk at all. There's a line in my book that says, "Isn't the one who takes no risks the greatest risk taker of them all?" Remember, life actually wants you to take risks. If your life is staying very similar, I can almost guarantee you that you're not making decisions and you're not taking many risks. And the risk comes with the decision, right? They fall into each other. Terence McKenna has this line, I don't know if you know who Terence McKenna is, he's like a psychedelic guru. And I used to take psychedelics, and I don't advocate for them, but they definitely changed my life a lot. And Terence McKenna says, nature loves courage. Nature wants to reward you. And it rewards you when you see the abyss of life and you jump into it, and by jumping into it, you discover that this abyss is a feather bed. But that's what he's saying. He's saying, take risk. The world rewards courage. Nature rewards courage. And when you start making these decisions and taking these risks, and you start moving your body and your mind in the right direction, it'll feel so good. And the only thing that you'll be kicking yourself for is, why didn't I do this 5 years ago? I'll actually give you, before we end the video, I want to give you a little story of, I've been going in and out of coffee recently, and the last couple of weeks I haven't had any. And I'm not like a big coffee drinker, but I'd have it like a few times a week. And I realized that when I was drinking coffee, I was just more emotionally reactive. And I would have these little outbursts of emotion, which I never have. I'm generally a very, very calm person. And I vividly remember going into the gym. I just sipped a little bit of coffee and I went into the gym. And I'm not talking down on coffee or anything. I'm just telling you my experience with it. And I went into the gym, and I vividly remember walking into the gym, and for the first time ever, my eyes locked onto this Red Bull. And I thought to myself, oh man, it'd be nice to have even more energy than this. And I was thinking, then after that thought, I thought, wait, no, this is the rabbit hole that you go down into with the energy drinks. Like, it's like caffeine and then Red Bull, and then you go a few more, and then it's like suddenly you're doing cocaine. But I'm just telling you that that's how quickly these things can happen if you start making the wrong decisions. And again, I'm not saying coffee is the wrong decision. It just doesn't work for me. I like slowness. I like clarity. I found coffee gives me speed and productivity, but it doesn't give me any clarity. It's just my mind racing constantly. But take note of this in your life. It's so interesting when you make a decision that you know you're not meant to. And for example, when you drink the beer, or you smoke the joint, or you stay and watch Netflix, when you know you're not meant to, and then the beer leads to you having another one and another one, or the joint leads to you just stuffing your face with crappy food, or Netflix just ends up with you like being a couch potato. And it's very important that you recognize what decisions lead to what. Because your decisions will have consequences, but it's just what consequences you want to go. Which way do you want to go? Do you want them to have negative consequences or positive consequences? And so I want to finish the video with one very important question, and that is, how do you actually know if it's a good decision or not? And I went through this for a while, and I think the simplest way is when you see the two things that you can do, and you have to make a decision right then and there, and you remember, don't take a lot of time to make the decision, make it right then and there. The question to ask yourself is, does it support your goals? Does this make you healthier? Does this make you stronger? Or a huge one is, does this align with who I want to be? And when you ask that question, the decision becomes completely crystal clear. And I want to finish this video by saying, remember, your life is not by chance. It is a product of good decisions. I hope this video does wonders for your world. As always, be kind, be caring, be courageous. Go and make some decisions today. I love you all. Lots of love. See ya.